Hey friends, Jared Wosmek here. I am a professional artist, former police officer, slash first responder. Welcome to part 2 of my PTSD symptoms video series. This is a series where I go through my symptoms as they appeared, the best that I can remember throughout my career. I had an 18-year career in law enforcement. I just left my position just a few years ago. So we're going to be going into part 2 of my symptoms list. But first I wanted to talk to you about PTSD itself. So what exactly is PTSD? I think it's important to just touch on that briefly. When I first left law enforcement on my leave of absence, I found out my diagnosis, and it was post-traumatic stress disorder. Actually, it was complex post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'll just say PTSD because it's pretty similar. And I also learned that there were additional diagnoses with that, and I was uncomfortable with that. I just expected PTSD. That's what I had studied and had learned about, and from what I knew, what things felt like. But I learned that with PTSD came major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, and I think there was a few others that I can't recall right now. But I remember that was like a blow to my ego, and I had argued with my therapist against the major depressive disorder. I'm not sure why. I felt like I had to argue against something. So I quickly realized, however, that it had actually been a very long time since I'd been happy. And when I was honest with myself, it had been years since I was happy when I thought about it. I couldn't remember the last time that I genuinely, sincerely felt joy, which is pretty sad. And it was startling to me that I had been going through my career, going through life, and I had indeed become so miserable, and I didn't even realize it. So that ended my argument with the depressive disorder. And now every day it's doing my best to be intentional to move forward, to move toward that, finding joy in life again. And that's what I'm doing. So there is so much hope out there. So it is a scary thing. It's a very discouraging thing, but it's worth hanging in there, and it's worth fighting for. You're worthy of happiness. You're worthy of all the good this universe can provide. And that's my message to you, and that's why I do this. It's worth it. You put in the work for you. It isn't always the easiest. You have to be intentional. You have to follow through with the tools that work best for you. But without a doubt, I know this is better than the alternative. I like to ask myself, when I'm in situations, where am I going to be 5 years from now if I continue down this path? So for me, it's important to stop and do those assessments because they kind of help direct me or orientate me toward good or back toward my true authentic self. So I encourage you to ask yourself that question. If you continue down this path, where will you be 5 years from now if you're struggling with these symptoms now? Because from everything I've learned and from what I know is it's a struggle when you're trying to go it alone, and you can't go it alone. You know, as humans, we're herd animals. We're built for connections. So as humans, we're wired for connection. However, along the way, we learn, and it's not necessarily beneficial to us, that we should be able to handle these traumas, handle these stressors, that we should be able to work through these things that we face. But we're not built for that. You know, we need other people to help us through. And that's what I really encourage you to do, is to seek out those people that are in positions that can help you, those people that really want to help you. I'm a believer that, you know, there are no coincidences. People are placed on our paths for a reason. And really utilize those people that are placed on your path. Or take steps to seek out those people that can help you in these areas. So that's a little bit about PTSD. And I also want to ask you, a good question to ask yourself is, you know, when is the last time you laughed? Pretty simple question, but it's an important one. If I would have asked myself that question and would have been honest with myself a few years ago, it really would have helped me understand where I was regarding my nervous system, where I was with my mental health, because my answer would have been, I don't know. So ask yourself, when is the last time you laughed? Pretty basic question. And as far as the answer that you come to, you really pay attention to that. You know, if your answer is like my answer, you know, pay attention to that. Take steps for you, and do what you can to make those corrections, because it really is important. So I didn't know a lot more to what PTSD was. Automatically, from that day, I was all in with doing what I could to move forward. So I was learning about feelings. I was learning about, you know, the story that I would tell myself. You know, what the things that I thought of myself, and the things that, you know, just, I was learning about me. I was moving forward. I was doing what I could, but I still had no idea what PTSD was. It wasn't until months down the road where I was speaking with an expert on PTSD. And he told me an example that resonated with me and it made sense. He said, think of your body as a car. And the car is running. And then think of yourself as, you know, having the brake pedal all the way onto the floor. He said that is your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and your recover system. And then he said, think of your other foot being on the accelerator and having that all the way down to the floor. He said that would be your sympathetic nervous system, which is your default survival system, the fight or flight. It's responsible for the fight or flight response. So you got these two systems, both totally engaged and both totally working against each other. So at some point, he explained, there's going to be a catastrophic breakdown with that vehicle. And that's what happened. That's what I was feeling. That's where my nervous system was regulated to as I had gone throughout my career. So that's a little bit of a glimpse of what PTSD is. And also, I need to remind you that these are my symptoms, and symptoms are totally different for everybody. PTSD looks different for everybody, but there's enough similarities where when I speak about it, I think you'll understand some of the symptoms for sure. And remember, just because you may be feeling some of these symptoms or experiencing them, that doesn't mean you're diagnosable, but it just means that you really should pay attention to what they are.